Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. My name is MIGHTREYA, artist, journeyman, and illustrator. Welcome you to the final peak gaming video commentary for 2025. As the year draws to a close, it is a time for reflect, a time to look back, and a time to ask yourself the most important question. What in God's name is going on within the Western video game industry? Specifically, what in God's name is going on with the Western AAA industry? Throughout 2025, we have seen a lot of nonsense, a lot of buffoonery, a lot of insanity. And it makes let's just say the whole speculation of the Western industry experiencing another video game crash like we saw in the 80s more believable, and for some people very imminent, if the amount of layoffs or anything to go by. However, that's not what we're going to focus on for this last video of 2025. In fact, my fans have voted for me to cover the games that I am excited about, the games that I am legitimately looking forward to in 2026. And I'm going to give you a spoiler right now. Out of my entire list, there is only one Western AAA release for next year. And we're gonna get into it. So, before we do that, smack that like button, make it jiggle. Smack that subscribe button, make it jiggle. Massive thank you to all of the channel members in the CSF Nation. And I want to send a special thank you to all of the comments and likes and dislikes on my last video regarding Lords of the Fallen 2. That was a very fun video to make, and you guys really came out in droves for that one. So to all the people who disliked this last video, I hope you dislike this one too, because apparently it hit a nerve. Apparently it punched a nerve with some people. I'm very curious about that. But before we get into this large list that I'm going to be very passionate over, here's some criteria. One, I'm splitting it into 3 sections. First off is going to be like focusing on the gacha titles. The second is going to be focusing on the indie and solo titles, and then the third will be focused on the AAA space, specifically from Eastern developers, with the last game being my most anticipated game of 2026. So this is not in any ranking. This is just me going off and splitting into, multiple segments. And I will have honorable mentions for 2 of those segments as well. So the entire theme of this list is basically reject modernity, embrace the peak, because I am noticing a pattern with my list, and I wonder if you guys can notice that pattern as well. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is my list of the most anticipated games that I am looking forward to in 2026. Let's do this. So we're going to begin the first segment in what I call the Rule of Three, basically. This is referring to the 3 gacha games that I currently play right now, and that is Goddess of Victory Nikke, Snowbreak Containment Zone, and my new obsession, Brown Dust 2. This segment contains a few gacha games that I'm looking forward to for next year, one of them being the biggest, most anticipated one. And we have one honorable mention, in fact. A common theme that you're going to see with this list is basically it's signifying basically the Eastern takeover of the video game industry moving forward, because there are a lot, and I repeat, a lot of Eastern titles on this list that I'm looking forward to, and we're gonna start this Eastern takeover with the Rule of Three segment. Now, I have one honorable mention, and that is Arknights Endfield. Now, Arknights Endfield is slated for late January of next year. It is essentially a third-person open world version of Arknights, and this one I was keeping a close eye on. I probably missed out the closed beta test, but I was very interested in this simply for 2 reasons. One, although Honkai Impact 3rd was my first gacha game, I played the hell out of Arknights, like, religiously during the pandemic / lockdowns in 2020. With Arknights, I was very hooked on the character designs, very urban-centric and very urban fantasy-centric, or urban tactical fantasy-centric character designs that really hooked me, and I found the tower defense gameplay pretty addicting, so I did a lot of grinding back when I was stuck in my house in 2020. So to see Endfield be that, follow-up, be that solid follow-up, be that very promising looking follow-up, is really caught my attention. Now, it is set in a different planet, or a different world, that is 120 years after the events of the original Arknights. And that's something that I think would be a world I definitely want to kind of see how it evolved and how it grew in a way, and be able to, kind of experience that love for Arknights over and over again. The second reason I want to highlight Endfield, especially as my honorable mention, is the incredible leaps in technology that I am seeing within the gacha space. Specifically with Endfield. The animations, like, just by looking at the animations alone, I'll put them on the screen. The animations and character models alone are very next-gen tech to me. It utilizes Unity 6 with solid skin shading and sweat tech, and especially a solid physics engine that makes the animations on all the characters pop. Like, incredibly pop. Adds so much personality that it really does feel like a visual breakthrough. Like, visually, the entire game, it in some aspects, it feels next gen, especially with the character models. And it's really impressive to see that in a gacha space. So I will be definitely keeping a close eye on Endfield, and it's an honorable mention. And I'm looking forward to testing it out, and I'll probably dedicate a Peak Gaming episode to trying out Endfield with the public release on just next month. So definitely get a chance to sink my teeth into Endfield. Now, with that honorable mention out the way, let's get into the 2 games proper. The first one is Azur Promilia. Now, Azur Promilia is definitely going to be slated for a 2026 release. There have been a lot of talks and speculation. Of course, Manju, the developers, have definitely been showing off the game, and I'm really impressed. I gotta say, I'm very, very impressed with what I'm seeing so far. And this is coming from somebody who has stayed so far away from any Genshin Impact like open world gacha games. It's just been a turnoff. It's just a turnoff for me. However, compared to Genshin, I feel that Azur Promilia has a lot going for it with its more fast-paced and, I would arguably, flashier style of combat compared to what I usually see in Genshin and other games similar to it. This one definitely hooks me more. On top of that, the monster training mechanic is definitely much more interesting, and it feels a little bit more. It definitely feels more different to what you would see in other monster training games such as Pokemon, which I highly doubt that Nintendo or Game Freak or Pokemon could be able to sue this Arknights Promilia for copyright or anything. Nah, it's definitely backfired them, especially after the whole Power World controversy. And the third thing that kind of hooked me, that's really kind of hooking me with Azur Promilia is, to be honest with you, the character models. It is going to be a mostly female cast, but there's a lot of really cute, very appealing looking characters, and that's what's kind of the thing that kind of surprised me, because this is Manju. This is Manju we're talking about. This is the developers of what you would describe as the most goonerest fan service gacha game that's out right now, and that is Azur Lane. Now, if you're a men and women of culture, and yes, I do have women of culture who watch this show, they enjoy the finer thighs in life. I mean, finer things in life. If you're a cultured individual, you know all too well that Azur Lane has character models that can put the likes of, like, Nikke and, like, you know, Brow Dust 2 to shame in a way. It is like the peak of, like, fan service gacha games, with, you know, all the girls being based off of real world naval ships. And so it was such a kind of a surprise to see the developers make something like this, to make something in kind of the vein of that Genshin Impact / Pokemon aspect. But you can see plenty of their style and flair, and I think that's kind of what surprised me, and I think that's what's definitely hooking me to Azur Promilia. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. That's going to be released. I think global release should be sometime this year, and I definitely can't wait for it. I just realized I said Arknights Promilia instead of Azur Promilia, and for that, if any developers of Manju watching, I am terribly, terribly sorry, as well as HYPERGRIF. I don't want to be associated with one or the other, okay? My bad. Now, there's one more game in this segment, and it is arguably the biggest gacha game, or the most anticipated gacha game of next year, and obviously it's talking about Ananta. So, for those who are living under a rock, have no idea what Ananta is, it is basically a gacha Grand Theft Auto. And you better hope it doesn't come out in the same time as Grand Theft Auto 6, but it is basically anime GTA. There, with Spider-Man swing physics, and pretty fluid looking combat. And there seems to be, from looking at Ananta, and I've watched, you know, all the gameplay trailers, all of the footage, it is incredibly ambitious. Like, it is incredibly ambitious. Like, Naked Rain is really, like, they're going all out. I feel like, from what I've seen, it's just visually impressive that you would make an anime GTA, especially on a scale like this. And for everything that I'm seeing that I'm enjoying, that I'm actually liking, and a lot of stuff that I like here, especially from the world to the characters to what you can do in game, from a lot of so many activities to make it feel like a GTA. There is some caveats. There are some things that I worry about. For example, I appreciate the fact that they just said out of the gate, there's no character gacha on this one. You're basically pulling for outfits and like premium like items and such like that. Characters, all characters in Ananta will be released free of charge for all players, so you never need to pull for any characters, which I think is a plus. However, that worries me about the grind, and how the grind for the stuff that you want is going to be predatory. Like, you know, is it going to be artificial grind that's going to lead to you having to basically pay for premium pay in premium currency out of pocket to get the items you want, to get the stuff that you want, to be able to progress the way you want? I'm very curious about that grind. I think that's going to be a point of contention, I think, for not just for myself, but probably for a couple of others who are looking forward to this and probably want to sink a lot of time into this, a lot of time into Ananta. The second thing is, you know, and the second thing is, how immersive is it going to be? How much you're going, how much is it worth the investment? How much is it, is there going to be enough to really sustain you, or to want you to keep you playing for long periods, keep you playing for longer than, say, like a couple months to maybe over a year? Now, I know as a gacha game, as the developers as well and publishers, they probably have an entire roadmap and everything sorted out. This isn't likely their first rodeo. It's just very curious, because for a game of this ambition, I suspect it's not going to completely stick the landing. But, you know, we're going to find out, because it is likely going to get a full public release next year. Hype is going to continue to build up for Ananta upon its release, coming out on PC, PS5, and mobile devices next year. It's going to be insanity, especially if it's released in the same window as, say, GTA 6's November release as such. And we'll see after what? We'll see after a month if Ananta, Arknights Endfield, or even Azur Promilia replaces any one of my rule of three in the gacha game space. But nevertheless, I'm looking forward to Ananta, and I know people in my chat are actually looking forward to Ananta as well. And we're going to definitely dedicate a peak gaming episode just for Ananta upon its global release. Okay, so this next segment is, I want to call it the indie renaissance, and specifically the 6th gen renaissance, because a lot of the indie games on this list, and there are a lot of them, they would fit perfectly in my PS2 library growing up, or would be on like X-Play and like G4 TV back in the day. Like, they really give that vibes, and I'm actually really impressed by that. I'm actually very excited about this list because it shows the kind of the technology now that, you know, indie devs and these solo 1 to like small teams are, you know, we're seeing kind of a transition from 16-bit, you know, 2D, amazingly, gorgeously 2D indie titles to PS1 inspired visuals to now PS2 vibes, like heavy PlayStation 2 vibes. And as somebody who is longed for this industry to kind of go back into the mindset of the 6th generation, because to me that's golden age, these indie titles have really been on my radar, and ones that I have been even more excited about than even the AAA releases. And that says a lot. that says a lot. So I have way too many honorable mentions to go through, and I'm going to try to see if I can like summarize them in the best way possible with the honorable mentions here. So let's just go off the list, and I'll try to keep this nice and brief. The first honorable mention is MIGHTREYA. MIGHTREYA is an anime style action game that is basically has the style of Dragon Ball Z or the arena fighters that you would see like Naruto and Bleach and such like that, with the visual style reminiscent of My Hero Academia, with giant kaijus to fight as well. The action is very fast-paced. Its action is fast-paced, it's fun, and it feels very Bayonetta-like as well, especially with its style system and such like that. The characters are very reminiscent of like My Hero Academia and Kill la Kill, and there's a lot of personality from just the demo that I got a chance to play with. In fact, if you go back to one of my earlier episodes of Peak Gaming, we actually do a full playthrough, a demo playthrough of MIGHTREYA. Now, no set release date has been given for MIGHTREYA, but it is staying on my wish list, and it is a very close eye on this one. The next honorable mention is Abyss X-Zero, which is a PS1 inspired, very metal action title. It gives vibes of Kill la Kill, basically, with its dual protagonists and very PS1 inspired visuals. I actually have brought this game up before as one of the games that I've been excited about back in 2024. Since then, the developers have been pretty quiet on that front, but they have stated that they are looking at a 2026 release. So the sooner the better. I'm hoping we get more news next year on Abyss X-Zero, because that is something I definitely want to play, especially on an episode of Peak Gaming. Shade Protocol. Shade Protocol is a 2D Metroidvania with, I've got to say, with very stylish visuals, kind of brutal fast-paced combat, and especially with finishers. Now, I'm not putting Shade Protocol on the honorable mentions just because the developers reached out to me and asked me to do a full trailer breakdown of their game. That's totally not the case. But I'm actually very grateful that they did. Okay, it kind of is. But legitimately, from what I've seen as a 2D Metroidvania, I don't really play Metroidvanias, are not really kind of my things, especially, you know, Metroidvania and roguelikes are kind of not my thing. This looks fun. This looks intense. I'm getting some OG Mega Man vibes. I'm getting that kind of that brutality. I'm getting that flashiness, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. And, you know, to the developers of Shade Protocol, if you guys are watching, yes, it's on my honorable mention. I'm looking forward to it. I will definitely play it live. Now, if there are any other developers of any games on this wish list that want to, you know, reach out to me for a promotion, or, you know, me to shout out their games or whatever, you know, I'm willing to do so. I'm totally willing to do so. This is me totally selling myself, whoring myself out for these indie devs right now. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, another honorable mention is Over the Hill. Over the Hill is a SnowRunner inspired driving game from the developers Fun Selector. Fun Selector, if you guys do not know, made the absolute darling of the indie racing game scene, Art of Rally. Art of Rally is a phenomenal racing game. It's a phenomenal rally game with gorgeous minimalistic visuals, a absolute love letter to every single decade of rally racing, with very deep and rewarding gameplay that I was really hooked on. It's not, admittedly, it may not be in my favorite racing games of all time, but it definitely cements itself as one of the key factors in this indie racing game renaissance, especially with indie like arcade racing games, although it's more simcade. This is another Over the Hill is a follow-up to basically kind of Art of Rally and Victory Lap, which is another title of theirs, where it's more focused on driving exploration, especially with a group of friends. You know, you get to drive on various landscapes. You're basically kind of going on a road trip. You get to spend the nights and camp out and just basically get to explore this open world together as a group. And it's very reminiscent of Mud Runner or SnowRunner or something like, I think the game's called SnowRunner. And it's very reminiscent of those games, but it has that fun, charming art style that you saw in Art of Rally, and I cannot wait for Over the Hill. So that will be released next year. Now this next honorable mention, and I got plenty of honorable mentions. This one is a little bit of a deep cut, and that is HYPERYuki. HYPERYuki is a Y2K, just heavy Y2K inspired snowboard game that's hoping is releasing it this in 2026. It combines the aesthetics of Jet Set Radio with the gameplay of something of a series that I hold dear to my heart, and that is SSX. You put those two together, I'm hooked. I'm sold. I'm putting my money right now. I'm slamming my credit card on the ground. Okay, when can I buy this now? And from what I saw from the initial trailer, it looks good. It looks good. It just hits that perfect note with me. Plus, give me some good jungle behind it, and I am playing this all night, baby. I'm excited for this one. So HYPERYuki will be released this year, and hopefully this year, and I'm very, very excited to hear more news from it. The other honorable mention is Asuka x Redline Reverie, which is an initial D Tokyo Extreme Racer Kaido Battle, specifically Kaido Battle inspired racing game that plays like a manga. Basically, you follow the character of Asuka in her journey in the world of amateur toge racing, where it has a full story you go through, a full RPG. It plays like an RPG, a full story you go through with done in the style of a manga, basically. Kind of similar to what you kind of saw with Japanese Drift Master in a way. The art style is fantastic. It feels like a manga. It feels like a living manga. You're playing a living manga with all of the onomatopoeias, the sound effects, everything runs through there. They've been dropping little gameplay footages here and there, and I am very hooked by the charming aesthetics and art style of the game. And plus, more racing games that steer away from the hyper-realistic simcade and develop its own art style, atmosphere, and vibes, I'm big on. And plus, the car list is definitely of my flavor. So Asuka x Redline Reverie will be launched in 2026, and I can't wait to see more from these developers, and I can't wait to see what they're about to, what else they can come up with, what more they have in store for this charming little toge racer. And the last honorable mention in the Indies title is Delivery Must Complete, and this was a late entry I put on this one. I can dub this title Ace-like, as in it is an arcade style Ace combat-like shooter. And the interesting thing about Delivery Must Complete is that they implement fighting game mechanics such as parrying and dodging as well, which I think is pretty cool. Plus, if you look at the trailers, it's very fast-paced, it's very Ace Combat-like, frenetic, and it's very reminiscent of another game that I was looking forward to that I haven't heard from ever since, and that is Zodiac XX Leo. Both of them tap into the arcade style Ace Combat like flight games, and both of them share another similarity, is that the art styles of both Zodiac XX Leo and Delivery Must Complete really tap into that early 2000s Toonami / Anime Unleashed on G4 Tech TV and early 2000s Adult Swim. Like I could feel my childhood self like screaming. I would have put this game in my library. This would have been in my PS2 library when I was a teen. Okay, let's just say teen. When I was a teen, massive weeb back then, this would have been in my PS2 library, full stop. No doubts about it, because this looks fun and this looks absolutely exciting. So, if these are the indie honorable mentions, then the ones that are actually on this list really drive that point home of how we are really getting into the PS2 era feel with these indie titles. So let's go ahead and get right into the actual list. Okay, so the first one is Spine. This is Gunfu, which is hopefully slated for a 2026 release. And essentially you look at this as Cyberpunk 2077 meets Mirror's Edge meets John Wick, basically John Wick style Gunfu, with very seamless flowing combat. Very reminiscent, and this is what really got me into it, is that and people argue that, yeah, they're very it's very Sifu-like in its combat, but to me this is more of the Arkham games, where it's very seamless, it's very free-flowing, and the camera angles make it feel like a cinematic, a cinematic John Wick. And I have been following this game for quite a while, and I'm still hoping for a release date, but I'm following this game for quite a while. I'm loving everything I'm seeing, especially with Redline, the main character for Spine. There's this game just looks absolutely just seamlessly transitions, just looks exciting, it looks cinematic. The combat really is up my angle as somebody who really liked the Arkham style games, somebody who really loved Spider-Man 1's combat. It feels like it's going to be that tighter, it's going to feel like it's going to be tight and seamless, free-flowing, where if they can get, cross their T's and dot their I's, we could look at a definitely an indie hit, and I mean a solid indie hit. And I think this drives so much home the feeling of the early PS2 and even in some cases PS3 style gameplay that we've gotten. So, but yes, it is confirmed. Spine is confirmed for a 2026 release. on PC, PS5, Series X, and Switch this year. I can't wait to see more. Like legitimately, I can't wait to see more of this. Definitely wish this one on Steam. Wishlist this one on Steam right now. In fact, I would argue that a lot of the games on this list, you probably need to go ahead and wishlist them on Steam if they are really, really up your alley. The next one, and this one really hit home with me, is MOTORSLICE. I have done 2 streams covering this game, playing the demos twice live, and I am hooked. I am immediately hooked. The vibes are, it's not just the vibes, but the graphics, the mindset is that you're going back to that early PS2 3D platformers, like in the days of like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and even, you know, Mirror's Edge with its parkour. It is just like that, and using your chainsaw to, you know, your chainsaw to traverse as well. The vibes are very low. It has very lo-fi vibes in a way. It is very, very lo-fi vibes, but the thing that just really makes it peak is how it all comes together. How it all really, really comes together. And I absolutely adore what I have been seeing, especially with the main character P. I really, really like main character P, and I'll probably will be doing some fan art of P when the full release makes its way to PC and hopefully to consoles. Plus, the thing that ties it all together with MOTORSLICE from my time experiencing the demo is that it is so rare, and I repeat, it is so rare to see a modern video game utilize atmospheric, low poly jungle drum and bass. Speaking of which, the music for MOTORSLICE slaps hard, and it is done by the one and only Pizza Hotline. If you guys, Pizza Hotline, you probably know for those low poly drum and bass, video game drum and bass mixes he posts on his YouTube channel. He has released many albums, by the way. I have his current Dream album, which is absolutely slaps hard. If you guys are not subscribed to Pizza Hotline, please do so. He has he's doing a lot of the soundtrack for MOTORSLICE, and that is like the icing on a cute and brutal cake. And this game is brutal. Like, the death scenes are brutal. The best way you can look at it is like, it's Mirror's Edge. It's that classic PS2 platformer meets Shadow of the Colossus with a chainsaw and a cute tomboy. Like all of those ingredients, and you got something that is definitely one of my most anticipated indie titles for next year, and I cannot wait. I will be there front and center for the full release of MOTORSLICE, man. I want it now. I want it now. Shout out to Pizza Hotline, especially the developers of MOTORSLICE. You guys have a surefire winner on your end. And now we get to the last indie game on this list, and it is the indie game that has got me legitimately hyped. Like, literally, I am hyped. Like, beyond hyped. And that is HYPERFUNK. So, HYPERFUNK is made by Team Reptile. That is the team who gave us Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio Future. I played Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. I loved Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. As somebody who holds Jet Set Radio to my Jet Set Radio close to my heart, is one of my all-time favorite video games, and who never got the chance to play Jet Set Radio Future as it was an Xbox exclusive and it didn't get a backwards or didn't get a re-release like the original Jet Set Radio did back in 2012. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk was the next best thing for me, and it is the original game was Bomb Rush Cyberfunk was a love letter to everything Jet Set Radio. Everything. It had the style, the music, everything, the gameplay, the gameplay feeling more smoother, fast-paced compared to Jet Set Radio Future. So when I saw the trailer for HYPERFUNK, I lost my mind. I lost my mind. HYPERFUNK is basically an evolved version of BRC. It's the evolved funk style. It's faster. The game, it's faster. 2 seconds of evolved funk style where performing tricks just doesn't look cool. It fuels your boost pack, so there's a huge arcade, almost like an arcade racing like boost system implemented. This is also going to be multiplayer as well. Built-in online features where you can form a crew, you can do challenges, you can just go effing crazy within the world that they're setting up. A new story featuring the character of Mach 10 and a bright future shaped by the Hyper. Despite rumors of being a sequel or a prequel, the developers confirmed it is a new story, just set in the same Bomb Rush Cyberfunk universe, with a heavy influence on Style Wars, basically. Graffiti system, a much more deeper graffiti system with tags, throws, pieces, and blockbusters. You can challenge rival crews in real time to graffiti battles to claim territory while evading police. Although it was revealed for September, it is targeting a PC and console launch possibly this year. I can't tell you how excited I am for HYPERFUNK. This is Y2K gaming in its most stylish, purest form. And this is peak to me. To me, this is the definition of reject modernity and embrace the peak, especially within the indie space, because this is peak to me. I can't wait. I absolutely cannot wait. Okay, now it is time for the heavyweights. The AAA titles with one AA title on this list, and like I said at the start of this video, there's only one Western AAA release that I'm looking forward to. But if this segment is any indication of just how big the Eastern influence is on the industry right now and how much the East is definitely taken over, then I think these few titles on the final segment are ones that I've ones to really, and I mean really look forward to. And this is where going to be a lot of the crux of my video is going to be here. Let's start with the AA entry in this first, and that is Milestone's 2026 remake of Screamer. Now, I've said Now, I made another video a long time ago talking about the games I was looking forward to from the Game Awards, and Screamer was the game I was looking forward to from the 2024 Video Game Awards. Screamer is a 2026 remake of their classic arcade racing title from the 90s. The hook with Screamer now is that it blends, it looks like a fusion of Need for Speed with the aesthetics of cyberpunk edge runners. Screamer I have been following very, very closely. In fact, it is in production. Actually, the art style and story works in production with Polygon Pictures, who you guys may know, who have done animation studio, who has done the Clone Wars, Knights of Sidonia, the Godzilla trilogy on Netflix, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and they've also have a history of creating cinematics for Street Fighter 4 and 5, Resident Evil 5, Metroid Other M, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and Screamer goes for this 80s and 90s anime-inspired futuristic setting, hence why it's very reminiscent of cyberpunk edge runners. The art style, the colors and everything are very bright and vibrant, and in some ways very stylish. The character models I do like, although I think they should lean a little bit more into the anime-inspired feel that they're trying to go for. And the car designs, I think, are a chef's kiss. I think they are an absolute chef's kiss. Like, the ingredients, all of the ingredients visually are there. But in not just the ingredients, the gameplay itself. Screamer has a total of 15 cars and characters to drive, and it's split into 5 teams. Basically, it's done in the style, there are serious fighting game mechanics. It is a twin stick style racer akin to 2020's Inertial Drift, which is one of my favorite indie arcade racers out there. And the boost system that they utilize is done like a fighting game, where you can utilize the boost to attack and defend yourself. Essentially, you can use the boost system is implemented not only to gain a burst of speed, but can also be charged up to gain even more burst of speed, or even protect yourself from oncoming racers who use their own boost system against you. There is a heavy burnout mechanics with it, and that's where the fighting game implementation comes in. It is attack and defend. There is a rock paper. There's almost I almost want to say there is a rock paper scissors format that you would see in like DOA, but I don't think that's the case. I think it is more the likes of a Street Fighter or King of Fighters, where your gauge, your boost gauge, acts as your super gauge as well. When you reach it to the max, when you build up your super gauge to the max, you enter a zone mode where you get unlimited boost, and you're able to destroy any of your opponents on the track. But however, there's a caveat. Your health depletes over time when you fill up your boost meter and use your super. And it depletes to where one small touch of a guardrail or against a wall and your car is destroyed immediately. The benefit is that there is a super fast respawn time, so it keeps you in the action. Now, for me, I'm liking everything that I'm seeing about Screamer. I'm looking forward to it. I legitimately am looking forward to this racing game, and it's probably the one of many racing games that are coming out in 2026 that I am excited for. However, I do have caveats to that. To me, I think the execution. I think what I'm worried about is the execution. What I'm worried about is there going to be enough content? You know? I think the fighting game mechanics that you're implementing into this arcade racer, I think is awesome. I legitimately do think it's awesome. I think it's very unique. The fact that you're following Inertial Drift's twin stick method is very unique. However, those are good formats. They're so far, I think they're pretty good, and I think the visual style and everything really works well, and it feels like it's all kind of coming together. However, I'm worried about the cracks in the seams. Now, keep this in mind. The director of Screamer is the same person who gave us Hot Wheels Unleashed 1 and 2. And in my humble opinion, Hot Wheels Unleashed is hands down the best modern arcade racer we have seen in a long time. Specifically, the first Hot Wheels Unleashed. The second one I really like, but it doesn't hit hard as much as the first one did. The first Hot Wheels Unleashed, I have spent endless nights playing, doing online races with friends when I used to have a Twitch channel. It's such a brilliant, beautifully attempted arcade racer that honors the Hot Wheels brand in every way, shape, and form. So to have the same director run on Screamer is definitely speaking promise to me, and is definitely giving me some hope. But what I'm afraid of is that they're not going to be able to go further, that they're limited, that it feels like for an idea like this, you could go much further. You can go really hard into it. You can have a lot of content, but I feel like it feels like it's just going to leave. I'm afraid it's going to leave you wanting for more to do. It feels like there's going to be cracks in the seams. Personally, I think the game is going to be serviceable. I think it's going to be serviceable. It's going to be done well, but I'm worried that it's just not going to be what I hope that like high 9 out of 10 like game of the year, racing game of the year that I want it to. I think it stems from, I think a lot of it stems from the lack of content and variety, especially when I look at the tracks. I feel like the tracks fit the setting of Akira, the city of Akira, is excellent. I think it all fits into that cyberpunk feel, even to where you have track layouts set in the Badlands, set in kind of like Night City's. It's set in Akira's versions of like Night City's Badlands and the factories and such like that. But but one thing that I've noticed with the tracks is I'm noticing there needs to be more elevation changes. If in all honesty, I think Screamer should be much more. I think in terms of track design, I think Screamer should lean more into Ridge Racer. And I say Ridge Racer because Ridge Racer's tracks have a lot of elevation changes, have a lot of sweeping corners, even though they're taking place on tight city streets, they're very creative about it. I think the track variety it feels flat. I feel like there needs to be more variety in how the course layouts are. Now, it is done in the style of Ridge Racer, where you have one area of the world and it's split into 3 different layouts. Like one track split into 3 different layouts, or one world that has 3 different tracks each. So it's very Ridge Racer inspired with its track selection. However, from what I am seeing, I think there needs to be more pump. There needs to be more kick to it. The tracks need to have a more kick. I think the bends need to work with tighter bends. You need to work with sweeping elevation changes. Work with, building up a lot of momentum as well as you're careening into the next corner. The track layouts need to really have that kick to where it makes the boost system much more of a chess game too, a high-speed chess game, where you decide when are you going to use your boost to attack, when are you going to use it to defend, when are you going to decide, are you going to fill up your boost meter and activate your super move. Like, have that I like the concept of strategy. I really do. I like that strategy, that fighting game mindset. I think it's excellent. I think it's excellent idea for a racing game. I'm just worried that the execution may not live up to the concept. So my eyes are closely on Screamer for that. And the reason why I'm so like really talkative about this game is because we're seeing so many amazing arcade racers come out right now, especially from the indie scene. It feels like we're in this arcade racing renaissance period. However, I cite Inertial Drift and I cite Screamer in that I so bad want an arcade racer, a modern arcade racer that captures the visual style, flair, and musical vibes of Ridge Racer. I have been asking for 2 console generations. I have been asking for a modern Ridge Racer, and not something like we saw with Unbound. I want a true, like, modern interpretation of something like Ridge Racer Type 4 or Ridge Racer 5, with that style, with that flair, with that atmosphere, with that vibe, with just all of that packaged together. And I saw that with Inertial Drift. Inertial Drift I love that game so much because it felt like Ridge Racer to its core, and it was inspired by it. And I'm hoping Screamer can give me that as well, because I'm disappointed in Namco. We saw that Ace Combat has gotten revitalized with 2 more, 7, and then you have Ace Combat 8, which is on the Game Awards. Soul Calibur got a revival with Soul Calibur 6. That ended up doing very well. Tekken is helping cement itself as the true king of 3D fighters, and really has became one of the big frontrunners in the current fighting game scene. To Bandai Namco, you have all these series that are revitalizing itself. Why not Ridge Racer? Why not Ridge Racer? I feel like this would be the perfect time to bring back Ridge Racer. To let the modern gaming landscape experience what we saw in the 90s, what we played in the 90s, especially at its peak with Ridge Racer Type 4. I think a modern Ridge Racer Type 4 would be excellent in this period right now. And I'm hoping that those Ridge Racer vibes I can see that with Screamer. And I really am hoping that Screamer really delivers, because I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. But Screamer is slated to an early 2026 release, I think in January, in fact. Okay, now let's get into the AAA games proper, starting with the only Western AAA release that I am excited for, definitely looking forward to in 2026, and that is Playground Games' Forza Horizon 6. Now, Forza Horizon 6 really doesn't need any introduction here, but let's just get it all out the way. The big reason that I'm excited for Forza Horizon 6 is the reason that everybody else is excited for Forza Horizon 6, and then that is that Playground Games have finally listened. Although it is speculated this is going to be the last game in the Horizon series, Playground Games and Microsoft have finally listened to everybody's demands since Horizon 2, and that is a Forza Horizon game set in Japan. Yes, they are finally taking the Horizon Festival to the Far East, and I am finally, that's all I can say, finally. So I am expecting sweeping, and I mean sweeping, switchbacks and mountain back roads. I am expecting tight city streets. I am expecting a deeply interconnected highway system. But that's not all. There's a lot that I have a lot to that I want to say about Horizon 6 and what to expect from this. Because although I am excited, I have plenty, and I mean plenty, of trepidations with this upcoming Horizon title. The first is the campaign. The campaign, now they have said that the campaign will follow the original structure of Horizon 1, where you're starting out as a nobody and you're working your way up the ladder. Now, the biggest criticisms that I have with a lot of the campaigns in the recent Horizon games, and I'm looking at you, Horizon 5, is that although they try to switch it up, they try to do something different, there's not enough of a campaign to sink your teeth into. Horizon 1 had the rags to riches story, had the startup who became the Horizon champion. Horizon 2, same thing, kind of following with the world's greatest road trip, essentially. Horizon 3, you are the Horizon Festival director, so you get to direct how Horizon, all of the big meetup spots, the big events within Horizon Australia, you get to decide how the Horizon Festival in Australia is played out. Horizon 4 sets you into an endless world, a living world, but once you're the Horizon champion in England, that's it. You're just kind of left to your own devices, and I was very disappointed by that. And Horizon 5, the less said about the better, because you play as a champion of Horizon UK, and you go through expeditions, basically around the world of Mexico, and it's very uninteresting. I'm not a fan of that at all. So I'm happy that they're shifting back to the original ladder structure of Forza Horizon 1. But here's the big kicker about this campaign. Stop the modern handouts. In the Horizon games, you are gifted high-end supercars, high-end performance cars at the very start of the game. Stop. That needs to stop. Have a good selection of starter cars to pick with and work your way up. That has to go. That has to go with this. You're giving us Lamborghinis, you're giving us Ferraris, Koenigsegg's, you're giving us all these high-end hypercars, like, gifted for free for, like, you know, if you got the DLC, if you got the Season Pass, or if you're a longtime player of the Horizon series. That has to stop. Give us a starting ground. Start from scratch. Pick a car to start from scratch, and then you work your way up to those high-end machines. If anything, I would like for Horizon 6's campaign to be more like Need for Speed Pro Street, where you have multiple ladders in different disciplines to advance up and become the Horizon champion in Japan. I'm hoping that would be the case, because I think that would add a lot of diversity, and that would add a lot of different branching structures to work with. As you can have a ladder focused on toge racing, a ladder focused on street racing, off-road, a ladder focused on drifting, maybe a ladder focused on highway racing. Different ladders that lead up to you taking the boss or whoever the champion of Horizon Japan is, where you're defeating them in all disciplines. Something akin to Pro Street, in a way. Almost like a miniature Pro Street in a way. And I think that would be excellent. Start from scratch, and I'm hoping that is the case. The second is urban density. They have stated that this is going to be the biggest world that Horizon has ever built, and hopefully the densest world as well. because we got a taste of it with Surfer's Paradise in Horizon 3, a full cityscape. Now you got to step it up even more. I want to see a dense variation of Tokyo for Horizon 6. And it doesn't have to be large, but it has to be incredibly dense to where Tokyo has multiple neighborhoods. There are multiple different neighborhoods and areas within the city area. You have explore verticality, explore tight city streets. Now, because if you're going to do a racing game set in Tokyo, you understand that Tokyo's streets, for the most part, are very tight. Very tight, like 1-2 lanes as such. That tight racing is going to be an absolute banger. If you don't believe me, look at how they did Tokyo in Blizzard Bizarre Creations Project Gotham titles. That's what I hope. That's what I want to expect when you're implementing Tokyo into Horizon 6. I'm expecting very tight city streets, where it feels like a PGR game in a way, where it's all about, a lot of it is about precision. A lot is about sharp 90-degree sharp corners, sharp sections, even utilizing alleyways and such like that. Yes, there's going to be destructibility, obviously, but very dense city streets, and being able to use, even the power of the PS5, power of the Xbox Series X, to build very convincing architecture. They've not been really well when it comes to like actually making buildings in Horizon games that you've noticed. And it felt like Surfer's Paradise was like they're dipping their toes into the water. And from what they've learned from the past Horizon games, I'm hoping they can build on that urban density. Speaking of which, on the roads, not only do the city streets need to be technical, every single stretch of road in Horizon Japan needs to be tight and technical. Understand this. One of the biggest problems that I have with Horizon 5 is the fact that you have roads that are big enough to fit 2 cars in. Like, you have these lanes that are so wide enough to fit 2 cars in, and that's not what Japanese roads are really like. They're very tight, winding, they're very tight roads. They're very technical roads. Usually single lane roads that you really have to be very aware of your surroundings. You have to be very aware of not only the traffic, you have to be very aware of the corners as well. People who play the TXR games, or like watch Initial D, or do the highway racing in Assetto Corsa, or the Toge racing in modded Assetto Corsa, can know what I'm talking about. You tight winding roads, 1 to 2 lane roads where only 1 car can fit in a lane. Let's stop it with this multi-lane. Stop with these large enough lanes to fit 2 cars in. Speaking of which, it encourages technical high stakes driving, which is a major plus for me. I like technical high stakes rate. I like technical driving in racing games. I like being technical. I like technical courses in racing games. Even in arcade racers, I like technical. I favor more technical and even flowing course layouts. Speaking of which, if you're gonna set Horizon 6 in Japan, you need to have an interconnected highway system. Essentially, the highway system in Horizon Japan needs to be similar to the Shudo Wangen C1 loop. It needs to be that interconnected. Where, if you're familiar with the TXR games, because the current Tokyo Extreme Racer 2025, which is one of my favorite games of this year, by the way, it focuses on, mainly the main C1 loop, the main C1 loop, and on those roads, you understand that the lanes are tight, and there are medians that block off. There are medians that block off both sides of the road, both sides of the highway. So what I don't want, essentially, is you to freely be able, if you're on the highway, to freely just crash through the median just so you can be in the oncoming lane. Let's not do that. Let's be authentic about this. Have a system, follow a system kind of like Tokyo Extreme Racer, where you have multiple on-ramps. And if you really want to drive that idea home, if you want to drive that idea home with TXR and such like that, add parking areas. I'm serious. Add parking areas. I think that would be excellent. I think that would be an excellent idea and be very authentic. Add parking areas in across the map in Horizon 6. I think that would be excellent, because to me, the TXR games are your benchmark. That's the benchmark. That's what you need to rival. Not just the TXR games, but what we experienced with Assetto Corsa, with, you know, the modded, with, of course, the mods in Assetto Corsa, where you're bringing these amazing, absolutely amazing one-for-one recreations of, like, Mount Akina, Hokkaido, all these amazing mountain roads. I know it's Harna. I know it's Harma in real life, but I call it Mount Akina. But having really bring that authenticism, and I think you have a banger. And I think it's the Western exception to me, because even though it is going to be definitely a live service focused, a dedicated and structured racing campaign would be the hook for me. And despite my personal feelings with how very much of a sandbox that the Horizon games are, where I prefer structure in my racing games for the most part, I have nothing but fond memories of every single Horizon game that I played. And I started playing Horizon at Horizon 3 in 2016. So I never got to experience Horizon 2 and the first Horizon 1 game. But I played 3, 4, and 5, and I have some favorites. I think I would argue probably my favorite Horizon game is kind of in between 3 and 4, I would argue. 3 and 4. If I played Horizon 2 back in the day, if I had an Xbox One back in the day, I probably would have put Horizon 2 as my favorite Horizon game, but I never got a chance to play that, so. But, no, there are aspects of 3, 4, and even 5 that I absolutely appreciate. It's just, I can't really say I have a favorite one personally, because I do have criticisms for each one, in my humble opinion. So, but all eyes are on Playground, and I'm hoping that they can really deliver with what fans have asked for a decade of Horizon being in Japan. And they probably need a W on their hand, because let's be honest here, that Fable is looking worse and worse by the day. It is looking worse and worse by the day. Okay, so that was the Western. That was the only Western AAA entry into this list, but let's get to the Eastern proper. And what a better way to start off with Pearl Abyss's Crimson Desert. Okay, Crimson Desert. So this is one of 2 games, and I'm gonna be honest with you. This and Azur Promilia, these are one of 2 games where I was influenced by one of my favorite YouTubers, Kyle, to put these on my list. And for Crimson Desert, I have an excellent reason, because Crimson Desert, the more I look at it, the more I'm excited about it, because it feels like it feels like Pearl Abyss is doing a Western AAA action game, stuff that you would see like in Ubisoft and like The Witcher from like CD Projekt Red and such like that. It basically taking the Western aspects out of it. Basically, it feels anti-Ubisoft. I guess that's the word I'm looking for with Crimson Desert. Graphically, it looks gorgeous. The animations are fluid and just absolutely well done. It feels deep and immersive. The combat feels very expansive in a way. And I know that this is Pearl Abyss. This is the team behind Black Desert Online. And I think that the thing that really hooked me was that, and it's the same way that I saw with Stellar Blade, is that you have a developer, a team that is very well known for making, gacha games, but in Pearl Abyss's case, making MMOs and creating trying their hand at a premium AAA single-player action title. And I know that there is a multiplayer aspect to it. Absolutely, I totally agree. There is a multiplayer aspect to it, but just on the single-player aspect alone, it's selling me. It feels very anti-Ubisoft. It feels very anti-Sony in a way. The anti-Ubisoft aspect is the fact that it's not going to be a get all this waypoints collectathon kind of feel to it. When I say the way that you see with a lot of Ubisoft open world titles have been lately, especially with recent Assassin's Creed games and Rainbow Six and Far Cry and stuff, it feels much more anti that. It feels much more like a tradition, how an open world action adventure game should be in this day and age, in a way. And the same way that it feels like it rejects the Sony kind of design philosophy of being a heavy cinematic, like, open world with, heavy cinematic with, like, the walking sim varieties and such like that, and with the kind of the tropes that we see with Sony first-party open world titles. Like, it feels like there's that same polish. Crimson Desert has that same polish, but it's more favor of raw, mechanically immersive gameplay. And speaking of gameplay, it's not like a Sony title. It feels like it's influenced by fighting games such as, KOF, Samurai Sword Showdown, linking moves, tech timing, and complex button combinations. Not only that, it's physics-based. It's physics-based. With the game running on their Black Space engine, featuring some of the most realistic physics in an open-world genre. Fights can cause environmental destruction, changes to dynamic terrain, and the impacts, you can actually feel it on both a visual and an audio level. So they really, really made sure they stepped it up and really be that challenge to what you would see in the same genre from the likes of Sony first-party developers and like Ubisoft in general. But not just that, I feel like it's a direct... Crimson Desert can be like a direct competitor to Witcher 4. Even some would cite that it would be very much like The Witcher on steroids in a way. It's you can see it as like The Witcher 3 with a deeper traversal in combat. And just being able to, and it's kind of like growing from, they're kind of growing from their MMO side with Black Desert Online, and it definitely feels evolved, and it feels like, and you can definitely feel that it's a 7-year project for Pearl Abyss, and I think that's why people are so excited for Crimson Desert, is that it feels like that rejection of what we see with the modern Western AAA, you know, action adventure titles. It feels like a complete rejection of it. It feels like we can do this. We can take what you can do, but we can do it better. Like, in putting it in a prestige single-player experience, sign me up. I've seen more, the more previews I see, the more I look forward to with Crimson Desert, and I can't wait for it to come out. I definitely can't wait for it to come out. It's definitely, and it's not just me. A lot of YouTubers, a lot of gaming channels, a lot of people are excited for Crimson Desert. And the fact that it's coming from a studio that has had a long history in developing live service and MMOs to branch out and make a premium single player experience, I think I'm gonna definitely have the time of my life with this one. I think this is going to be an absolute blast with Crimson Desert. So I can't wait for Crimson Desert to make its way to consoles and PC this year. I don't know if there's any more amazing things I can say about this game so far, but I'm very convinced. The next in my AAA heavyweights from the East is one that I and others are excited for, especially my friend Sean of React and Draw, and that is Phantom Blade Zero, which was shown off at the Game Awards, and it will be releasing in September of 2026. It wasn't the visual style that hooked me with Phantom Blade Zero. It wasn't the graphics. I think they all look great. I think the main character looks freaking cool. Absolutely cool. But it's the fact that it's not a Souls-like. The developers have explicitly said that this is a high-speed hack and slash. It is not a Souls-like where your enemies do not respawn and you die when you die or visit checkpoints. This is a hack and slash to the core, and already definitely in a time where the genre on Souls-likes are, I'm saying it respectfully, oversaturated. To see a hack and slash renaissance start to kind of build up, it fills me with a lot of joy. I think we need a hack and slash renaissance, period, basically. And I think a good start was like Ninja Gaiden 4. But man, the thing that hit me, the thing that really sells me on Phantom Blade Zero isn't the graphics. It's not the art style. It's not the characters. They're all awesome. It's the gameplay. If you watch any trailer, if you watch any gameplay footage of Phantom Blade Zero, it's a technical marvel. This is run on Unreal Engine 5, like a lot of games, and utilizing the Night and Lumen for ray tracing. But the gameplay is a technical masterpiece. Yes, it is a hack and slash, but it's a playable kung fu film. It is a playable kung fu film. And the reason I say that is because the choreography is directed by legend Kenji Tanigaki. Of course, the director for Donnie Yen's longtime collaborator, the Rurouni Kenshin films. The choreography in Phantom Blade Zero is a sight to behold. It's all handcrafted, by the way. Raw motion capture. It's not using raw motion capture. It's handcrafted animation, and it looks so incredibly seamless. It looks so incredibly seamless. It feels like you're playing a kung fu film, and holy shit, every single time I look at the choreography of just the simple fight, these simple combat scenes, they are fantastic. Like, it emphasizes, a hack and slash, it emphasizes tight parrying and dodge rewards, ghost steps, flashy animations, not just like punishing mistakes. It feels like there's so much depth to this gameplay, man. That's what hooked me too. And in fact, you have different types of weapons as well, which is each with their own, you know, strengths and weaknesses, each with their own animations as well, each with their own choreography too. Like I said this, okay, so I said this when we streamed the Game Awards back in earlier this month. When I look at Phantom Blade Zero, I had to continuously ask myself this one question. This looks amazing. This looks fantastic. This looks like a playable film. So why is Ghost of Yotei even here in the first place? That's like my initial feeling. When I looked at the current trailer for Phantom Blade Zero, I look at Ghost of Yotei being nominated for all these awards, and I'm just like, why are you here? Like, what's the point of you being here? You feel like the lesser, like the bastard stepchild of these type of games, of these. Phantom Blade Zero is definitely from Chinese here, but it's like, it feels like that similar vein. It's like you feel like the bastard Ghost of Yotei feels like the bastard stepchild compared to this. Like, this is how you do it. The gameplay just on its own, and I would argue that this is definitely one of the many reasons where one of the many games on this list where the gameplay itself is what made me put on this list, and the gameplay, animation, and fight choreography is incredible. I will be playing this on Peak Gaming, guaranteed. I will definitely be getting this. Not pre-order. I will definitely get this when a chance to. And I think that this continues. Phantom Blade Zero needs to continue, you know, ushering in this new age of hack and slash. Not as a replacement to Souls-like. No, not at all. As a companion to Souls-like games now. I think we need to see more of that. Because from every single frame, every single cutscene, every single frame, every single animation is just a technical masterpiece. It's almost like a dance. It's almost like you're watching a beautiful dance of violence. It just a beautiful martial arts dance. It's just I can't say any more good things about it. And it's just such a funny, like, it's just such a crazy comparison in that you put Phantom Blade Zero at the Game Awards, where I look at Ghost of Yotei and I'm just like, there's no point in you being here. There's no point. It would have replaced Ghost of Yotei in all those nominations at the Game Awards if Phantom Blade Zero was released at that time. I'm just saying. That's just me. I know. I don't want to get into that rainbow. Ghost of Yotei. It's just, that's how beautiful I think this game looks. That's how I think excellent the gameplay wise. I think I'm gonna have the time of my life with this one, just like with Crimson Desert. So we are like 2 for 2 in like AAA Eastern titles that are just showing up the West in every way, shape, or form, and they're exact reasons why I'm so excited for them to come out next year. Honestly, I gotta add this. I gotta add this part to Fan Play Zero, and this is just in general with the remaining 4 Eastern AAA titles, because the more I think about this, the more I think about that comparison I made to Ghost of Yotei, the more I'm just like, I know exactly what's gonna happen come 2026, because here's my prediction. We're going to see Godslayer, Crimson Desert, Phantom Blade Zero, in my 4th game that I will save at the very end. They are going to get the same treatment that we saw with Black Myth Wukong and with, even to a lesser extent, Stellar Blade. The reason I bring this up is because Black Myth Wukong, if you guys remember, that was by Game Science. It was a fantastic, and I mean absolutely fantastic, action game that was released in 2024. And what happened upon release? There were multiple, there was one main huge smear campaign from IGN's Rebecca Valentine over Game Science, the developers, accusing them of sexism, and all because, you know, they didn't want to play ball with the, you know, the Western, play ball with the West, and, you know, their basically their protocols and such like that, and the whole rumor that they Black Myth Wukong Game Science developers rejected Sweet Baby Yang. Well, it led to this, you know, Rebecca Valentine made this just absolutely BS and disgusting hit piece trying to accuse him of sexism when it all turns out to be blatant lies. Not only that, Black Myth Wukong, clearly the Western AAA industry did not like Black Myth Wukong just showing them up in a way. So putting them at, there was a, what was it? When they were at the Game Awards, they got nominated for Best Action Game, but there was this whole thing of, what's her name? Alana Pierce, who was Malevolent in Dispatch. Alana Pierce talking about how Game Science developers were crying that they didn't get the Game of the Year nominee, and I think that was an absolute lie either. That was a lie as well. I just, the reason I'm pointing this out is because I think I see the same thing. I can predict the same thing with any of these 4 games, basically. For one reason or another, what's going to happen is you're going to see at least one of these developers, they're probably going to get a lot of ire and looked down like a hawk from the Western mainstream media, the Western game publications. You know, your Kotakus, your IGNs, your Polygons, the gamers, your PC gamers of the world. They're going to try to nitpick every single little thing that is wrong with any of these 4 games that I'm going to be mentioning. And it's all cements to the fact that it's showing that the East is clearly making their presence known. Eastern developers from China, South Korea, and even Japan, they're making their presence known in the AAA space and showing that they can do a premium single-player quality AAA game better than the West can. That's just how I see it. It's just, we're gonna see at least 1 or 4 of these games gonna be snubbed in some way, shape, or form when it comes to award season in 2026. I guarantee you. It may not be from the Game Awards, but I can guarantee you in some like Golden Joysticks or a smaller award show, they will get snubbed in some way, shape, or form, because the West is seeing the Eastern dominance as a threat. They're seeing it as a threat. Let's be honest here. And they can't pin them on this, that, or the third, all these, these buzzword accusations, because they are legitimately good games. They are technically excellent games. And I look at that in the same way I just look at, Ghost of Yotei, and I'm just like, why are you here? When you have these games here, what's the point of having, these Western games, man? I'm not trying to throw so much shade. That's just what I'm seeing here, and I'm like, predicting that's what we're going to see in 2026. Mark my words. If I'm wrong, I will happily admit that I'm wrong. It's just, this is what I'm predicting, because I'm seeing a pattern. I'm seeing deja vu all over again, basically. So I think that's why it's important that these 4 games in the AAA space are great symbols of, or great representation of what I'm trying to say is reject modernity, embrace the peak, because let's be honest here, say what you will about any of these 4 games, Phantom Blade Zero, Tides of Crimson Desert, Phantom Blade Zero, Godslayer, and the 4th game, they clearly reject the identity politics mindset, the Western mindset that you see in gaming, that you see in games journalism. You see them, and let's be honest here. A lot of people don't take games journalism, these games journalists, these hit pieces seriously. A lot of people don't take the awards seriously either. It's just, I'm gonna see a pattern here. I'm seeing potential smear campaigns. That's just my opinion. We can agree to disagree in the comments. I'm probably on the wrong. It's just from what I'm seeing, because I just see a pattern. Now, with that being said, the Godslayer. Oh man, I don't know how I could sum up the Godslayer in any way. I don't know how I can sum up the Godslayer in any of the best way that I could put it. It's just, it's a late entry into this list because they dropped the trailer like earlier this month. And the first thing out of my mind was, this is the Avatar: The Last Airbender game I've always wanted. And it's not just me saying that, it's practically everybody else in the comments saying the same thing. Like, it's not generic magic, it's true elemental martial arts, and it feels like you're bending. It feels like you're the Avatar. The character Chang, it feels like you're playing a young Zuko, okay? You're in a steampunk setting, heavy Legend of Korra vibes. Come on, man! It's like if Zuko was the Avatar. Just, man, everything, from what I saw, I was really, really interested. And the fact that they utilize the bending in the gameplay structure to how you can use the environment as your weapons, you can use the 5 elements, it's very creative, and it makes it for a very deep kind of combat, basically. The fact that you can use the environment to your advantage, which is really cool, and it's done in a very logical way too. You know, it is that Avatar style game. You know, it's set in the Zhou Kingdom, which is a steampunk China, and it feels very Legend of Korra. There's that industrial fantasy steampunk, you know, Legend of Korra vibes. And it's not like, it goes beyond the whole thing with like Ubisoft questing, and I think that's where it's definitely rejecting that modernity in the same way Crimson Desert rejects the Ubisoft and the Sony formula when it comes to open world single player action and action adventure games. It feels like in a way it's rejecting that formula too. You know, having missions to allow multiple approaches, go in heads on, you can bribe guards, elemental versions. That's a branching off with missions, allowing you to complete a mission or objective in multiple ways. You know, that's awesome. It's a single player game. Premium title. No microtransactions, no gacha. It's a single player Easter AAA title. Like, I don't know which more I could get. I mean, that's what this is. It's the Avatar game that I've always wanted. It looks great, running on Unreal Engine 5, and I don't know what else it is. It's look like it might be targeting a 2026 release window, and this is actually from Sony's, from one of Sony's China studios, in fact, because it shows further evident that Sony is really looking into, keeping a close eye on, or just look into the East. They are looking into what's been going on in the East, and it feels like it's further evident. Games like this are further evident that it is definitely pivoting its course to the East, especially if if what we've heard from Ghost of Yotei, and even to an extent Naughty Dog's Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, and what they're suffering right now with crunch and such like that, if there's anything to go by. So yeah, that's another one. That is the Godslayer is another one. I am very, very excited to, play the Avatar game that I've always wanted, with Zuko as the Avatar, basically. There's only one game left, and I'm saving the grand finale for last. This one I was beyond excited for the moment I saw the reveal trailer at Sony State of Play. I think it was like last year. And out of all the showcases that we saw this year, the Xbox Develop Partner Showcase was, to me, the best one of the year, simply for those 10-15 minutes of that boss fight. And I don't say this about a lot of games, but I am legitimately hyped. Like, I am legit hyped for this game. Every time I look at it, every time I see it, it's just, this is my most anticipated game of 2026, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it does come out in 2026, because I might take a day off just to play this on launch day just for this. And the game that I'm talking about is none other than Tides of Annihilation. Of Annihilation is a new action adventure game from a Chinese studio, and from the first, let me how to describe this, because I actually used this trailer in the intro for Peak Gaming. The moment that you see Gwendolyn walk up to those amount of dead bodies, and she pulls the sword out, and the moment you see her face, you're just like, okay, that's it, I'm done. This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I said never apologize for wanting attractive women in your meat, especially in video games, because let me just get this out of the way. Gwendolyn is pretty in this game. But that's just not all. That's more than that. It's more than just a pretty face. The game is set in a dark urban fantasy reimagining of Victoria, London. And it's basically a retelling of the Arthurian legend, a reimagining of King Arthur. Okay, that's a hook. That is a very, very big hook to me. Okay, I like reimaginings of that, and I got a thing for Arthurian legend, so that is so cool to see that just kind of reimagined in this fantasy setting. It just, oh my god, I can't say enough about that. Just that topic hits me hard, and it's done by an Eastern studio. That's the crazy thing. This this is done by an Eastern studio. I'm going to put a link to Lady Decade's video talking about Ties of Annihilation and how the East is doing, you know, English history, Arthurian legend, better than the English. That's crazy. I'll put a link to Lady Decade's video down in the description. It was just, I am excited. Like, I'm legitimately excited because this, I said this before, this isn't a Souls-like Phantom Blade Zero, like, you know, Ninja Gaiden 4. Like, I'm hoping that this signals the start of a hack and slash renaissance period. Like, not every action game needs to be a Souls-like. Not everything needs to be a Souls-like. This is straight up Devil May Cry, God of War style hack and slash, and I'm all for it. The fact that you can use spectral forms of the Knights of the Round Table as, like, your assist characters to chain attacks like that, to do some crazy as hell air juggling like you would see in a Devil May Cry or like a Bayonetta, I'm in. And I'm not good at those combos either. Just see my playthrough as a Bayonetta so far on the channel. But I love that kind of stuff, man. It's fast-paced. It feels incredibly smooth. Not just that. From the gameplay we've witnessed, just the fantasy, the spectral fantasy of this is just gorgeous to look at. There's such a prestige and cinematic quality to this. Everything in the world it feels so immersive. It feels incredibly immersive. Like, there's that one, I always go back into, and you guys can see this in the intro. If you ever see the intro to the full stream for P Gaming, you can see I use many clips from Ties of Annihilation, and one of them is that boss fight with the blonde character. That the blonde character is like who was starting to attack them, and it just shifts the landscape itself. That was such a cool, like, it was very, I think about Phantom Blade Zero and how really cool and choreographed it is, but it was such a, I think it's gonna have really, really cool boss fights, even as evident by the last trailer where you had that log boss fight. And what I thought was amazing was how the boss that she was fighting, that Gwendolyn was fighting, how in their phase they basically shifted the battleground basically to where they started attacking from the lake that Gwendolyn is standing underneath. I know it's probably been done before, but I really, really like that. It reminds me a lot of, in a way, games like that, games like Stellar Blade and such like that, where the bosses have unique attack patterns, and they have very visually cool attack patterns too. Like, even when the boss is gonna drop this giant fiery globe signaling clearly an insta-kill, you know, the fact that you have to jump up, is kind of quick time, that you have to jump up and up to get to that boss and to pull this finisher off. I thought that was cool. Like, I think there's so much style. It has that style of a Devil May Cry. It has that style of a Bayonetta. And it's steeped in that Arthurian lore, steeped in that medieval, it's steeped in that dark urban fantasy. I think the boss designs, you know, like Stellar Blade, I think like Stellar Blade and like Bayonetta, I think the boss designs are going to be amazing to look at. Like, it feels like the boss battles feel like a visual spectacle in a way. And it's so steep and immersive in this fantasy setting. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Not just that, you know, the fact that, you know, the combat itself, it's high speed, it's technical, It features mirror space chain attacks, so every battle feels like a cinematic event. I'm all for that. You know, I look at Phantom Blade Zero. I look at Phantom Blade Zero. I look at Spine. I look at Crimson Desert, and I look at even Godslayer. A lot of these action games, they're making the action, they're making the combat feel cinematic in some way, shape, or form. In cinematic in the best way possible, to where it doesn't interfere with the flow of the combat. It doesn't interfere with the combat flow. It keeps you on your toes. It's that kind of high-speed focus combat what really got me into, one of the many things that got me into Zenless Zone Zero at the time. You know, the only horror solid game I was willing to play. How fast-paced it feels. And you know, I'm hoping that, you know, the gacha games that I mentioned, that, you know, they have that kind of fast-paced action gameplay that, you know, I want to see. You know, I want to see now that hack and slash gameplay. You know, the other thing is that it's voiced by Gwendolyn herself, is voiced by the one, the only Jennifer English, who basically swept the entire award show space with her, you know, of course you guys know Jennifer English as the voice of Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate 3, but you also know her as the voice of Mael in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So lending her voice talent to Gwendolyn, I'm already excited. That's like that's just an extra, you know, feather to the game's cap, you know. And the fact that it really it rejects the modernity in being that it's another AAA premium story narrative driven action game. I'm hoping that it's a narrative driven masterpiece, honestly. Like I every time I look at this game, every time I look at this, it just screams to me, this is going to be my game of the year. No matter what year it releases in, which I'm hoping this 2026. Tides of Annihilation from first glance is like, yeah, this is going to be my game of the year. This is going to be it. It's going to be this. Just because you got me so excited. You know? And I think not only just that, but I think the biggest thing about Tides of Annihilation that really hooked me immediately was having a very attractive female character like Gwendolyn, to where I feel that this is going to be 2026's Stellar Blade, in that this game is going to be more than just a pretty face. A high fidelity, high skill, non-Souls-like action epic that prioritizes spectacle and mastery over modern slop, basically. And the fact that the cherry on top is that you have an objectively pretty female character, and I'm sorry, that's gonna sell. That is going to sell. Visuals are going to sell. If, like, everything else about this game, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm just gonna be blatantly honest with you, everything about this game would have been like, this looks amazing, this looks awesome, but it wouldn't have sold me if it wasn't for the moment we see Gwendolyn up close. It was, if it hadn't sold me for the moment we seen for how Gwendolyn looks, I would have brushed this game off, because this is a fantastic, this looks so fantastic to me. This looks like just right up my alley. And just the appearance of Gwendolyn, you know, your main character, it's like a cherry on top. It's the cherry on top of a delicious cake to me. And it's a game that I am so excited about. I'm so hyped for it. You know, that's why I said this is going to be my 2026 Stellar Blade, because I expect there is going to be you know, culture war hit pieces on shit like that about Tides of Annihilation once it finally gets released, if I get to see more of it. I guarantee you we're gonna hear it from both sides. Yes, I said both sides of the aisle at this point. I'm just here to defend it. I'm just here to defend this game because I'm legitimately excited about this. And I'm hoping that it really does deliver. And from everything I've seen, it feels like it's going to deliver on such an incredible scale to me. That's why I said this is going to be my Stellar Blade of 2026. And I will wear that with a freaking badge of honor. You can take everything I said. You can take everything I said to bank. You can criticize everything I said about Tides of Annihilation. Why, how I feel that it was the look that really got me there. But it really did. It got me to get hyped for this. But it really did. Everything. This game, I know in my heart that this is going to be one of those games that is more than just a pretty face. This is going to be one of those, you know, action games. May not be like action game of the year, because let's be honest here, if all 4 of these games release this year, at least in 2026, it's going to be a close fight. It's going to be a tough fight. But I do feel that Tides of Annihilation will have that lasting impact in some way, shape, or form, at least on me. So, yeah, Tides of Annihilation is my most anticipated game of 2026 for so many reasons. And it is the very reason why you see it in like when I do like peak gaming, the streams and stuff like that, why I use a lot of Tides of Annihilation footage in my streams, because that's how much I love it. It's like, this is peak. I'm just gonna say it. It's peak. This is peak to me. This is absolute peak. And I'm not apologizing for saying that. Whew, this has been a long video. I feel like an hour and a half and not even longer. Anyway, listen, that's my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comment section down below. Put a list. I want everybody in this comments. I don't care if it's one game, or if it's like 2 games, or just a whole list of games. Sound off the games that you are excited for in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys, because we probably have some games that we share together. There's probably some games I didn't get a chance to mention. I know for a fact that a lot of people are going to put GTA 6 in the comment section, and for very good reason. Absolutely good reason. But for me, this is my list, and I'm very excited to be playing hopefully all of these games on Peak Gaming in 2026, and off stream as well. I'm hoping that all of these games come out this next year, because I'm excited. This list as a whole is the true just representation of rejecting modernity, rejecting the Western AAA mindset, rejecting everything that, you know, reject the slop, embrace the peak, embrace the fact that it feels like a revival of the golden age of gaming, in my opinion, which is the 6th generation. That's what it feels like, a revival of the golden age. And I'm here for it. I am so here for it. So, anyway, guys, I'm out of here. I'm Machity90, Arts German Illustrator, and I will see you all next time for another video. So until then, stay cute, stay sexy, have fun, take care, much love. Never apologize for wanting attractive women in your media, especially in your video games. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! I hope I get to do more, and I hope we get to really grow in 2026. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, and above all else, never stop drawing.
Please share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Press the like button and press the subscribe button if you wish to see more content from Machity, and join us every Saturday night at 6 p.m. as we venture into the world of peak gaming. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, game over.